How's it going, agents? Prakowski here, back for another LEGO Ninjago video, and today I'm going to rank the Island special episodes. Before getting into today's video, please give me a thumbs up under this video, it will mean a lot to me. If you are new to here, please hit the subscribe button as well as the notification bell below for following more videos and news coming up on this channel. And without further ado, let's get right into the video. At the bottom of the rank, we have the Tooth of Wajira. I will describe this episode as one of the least Ninjago episode, because the flow of this episode is kinda weird, comparing to other finales of other seasons of the show. The storytelling part in this episode should not be the focus of this episode, because like I said, it is the finale of the special. If the storytelling part of the special continued in the finale, the final battle part of the special would be less emphasized. Every Ninjago season or special literally have the final battle part in the last two episodes of the season, implying that it is the end of the story. For example, the final battle in The Rise of the Spinjitzu Master, or the Second 17 War in the Corridor of Elders. I mean, all of them have the atmosphere of having the endgame of the season or the special. But in this episode, as the finale, I don't sense such atmosphere. If this episode ends up with the ninjas seeing Wajira but they choose to not confront it because they don't want to disturb the peace built upon by the first Spinjitzu Master and the Keepers, I think it would end in a better way and the entire season would not be like now. Neglectable. Another thing I want to point out in this episode is the role of Clutch Powers and Ronin. This is something I'm concerned about when Clutch Powers being introduced in Secrets of the Forbidden Spinjitzu. The characters, or the roles, I shall say, of Ronin and Clutch are similar, to the point which they share almost the same role in the show. Both of them are like the Guardians of the Galaxy, or Deadpool in Marvel movies, which they are sometimes evil and sometimes good. Anti-heroes, some may said. I'm not implying that having anti-heroes in the show is a bad thing, but having more than one in this show is slightly too much. Also, since they share the same role, their own character may not stand out much like the other side characters in this show, such as Skylar, Devrith, or Cyrus Borg. I think this would be something the writers of Ninjago should work on for further writings of those two. On top of that is the gift of Jay. Again, like I said in the last video, thoughts of this special. The plot is kinda blunt, like nothing big happened. This is probably because of the tone and the coloring in this episode. I'm not saying that the Wild Brain animation isn't good. They are good. I love their work in Prime Empire and Masters of the Mountains. What I'm saying is the Wild Brain should try more different styles of animation and use them in different scenarios. Wild Brain prefers using vibrant yet matte colors and add-on details, so they are good at animating some playful scenes, like the scene which Jay and Nia dance in Prime Empire, or scenes with using elemental powers, such as the one which Cole activated his Spinjitzu burst in Master of the Mountains. In contrast, Willfilm, the previous production company of the show, prefers using colors with solid and darker tone, so they are good at creating serious scenes, like the scene which Lloyd retrieved his power in Haunted, or when the ninjas entering Yang's haunted temple in Possession. Thus, the representation of different tones should be something Wild Brain look into, especially when it comes to scenes with traveling in shadows or showdowns, which are something this show needs. Back to the gift of Jay, I was expecting something that can showcase the ability of Lloyd as a ninja. Perhaps some butt-kicking boosts, some Spinjitzu, some elemental powers, but definitely not playing fetch. So I was kinda surprised the animation team chose to present it this way. However, I think I can let it go, considering it is a cartoon. Fun elements or sequences should be added. In conclusion, I will say this episode got great ideas and plots, but it doesn't have much appropriate representation to present the plots and the ideas. How good is this episode, you may ask? Not the best, but definitely not the worst. Then we have Uncharted. I think it is a good opening comparing to other season openings. Thus, I got expectations for this special because having a good start is the first step of being successful. But apparently, it doesn't. Well, at least not one of the prime of the show. If it does, we all will be talking about it and making a bunch of theories after the airing of the show. But do we? Back to the episode, the flow of it is really good, not too sluggish, yet not too swift. It briefly introduced the background of the special, the reason the ninjas going to the island, and then thoroughly depicted the journey of the ninjas on the island. Another thing I like about this episode is how the ninjas' personalities and their relationships presented evenly in this episode, such as Kite's impulse and hot-headed personality, or Lloyd's caring side towards his mother. Speaking of that, I do find the scene which Lloyd looking for his mother is somehow clingy. Like the last minute Lloyd was plotting a plan and giving orders like what a leader would do, the next minute he was looking for his mother like some 10-year-old kid. As an episode with a dark tone, such setting seems to be a mismatch. Again, nothing much stands out in this episode. I would say this episode belonged to the average to top tier class of the show. In compared of Uncharted and The Gift of Jay, this episode definitely stands out the other one, considering the tone, the storytelling, and the flow of the episode. If the final episode of this special is considered as one of the least Ninjago episode in the special, then this episode would be the most Ninjago episode of the special. And the best episode of The Island is The Keepers of the Amulet. What I like about this episode is the intense plot flow and the atmosphere presented. By having events happening one by one with no fillers and the serious atmosphere created, the tension presented in this episode is high, and that's good, because when the tension of one episode is high, the audience will be nervous to watch it and wanting to know what would happen next. Another thing I like about this episode is the dark tone it presented. Somehow, this episode reminds me some of the scenes in Tournaments of Elements. Both of them, the islands and the Tournaments of Elements, took place on an unknown island. With that setting, anything can be written as stories, and hence anything can happen to the ninjas or the people around them. Thus, I think it is a good material for the writers to think about new ideas, characters, and more. And that leads me to the third thing I want to talk about of this episode. The backstory of the people living on the island. The setting of the keepers, the stone guardians, and other people living on the island is good, but the thing is, we don't know much about them. The depth of background story of these new introduced characters is not enough. There are a bunch of questions appear when they are firstly introduced, such as what are they? How long have they been living? Are they exist in the time when the first Spinjitzu master created Ninjago? Why do they got powers? Why some of them can adapt and channel the ninjas' elemental powers? Not much of them are mentioned, and that is the flaw of this episode. And that's pretty much all my ideas. What do you think? Comment down below. If you have any ideas, suggestions, or problems to make, you can contact me with email, Twitter, or Instagram. And see you later, alligator.